series, where we bring on members of the DivInc community to talk about how we are impacting the tech ecosystem with diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility as our guide. I'm Charisse Luter. I'm the marketing director with DivInc, and we are in the middle of our Meet the Founder series as part of our Clean Energy Accelerator that we're hosting right now in Houston. Thank you to our sponsors, Microsoft and Chevron. And this accelerator is coming to a close pretty soon in about a few weeks. And as part of that, we're having our demo day on June 29th. And leading up to that, we thought we would be introducing you to the founders who are part of this cohort. So you can get excited about them, get connected to them, and then on demo day, be able to see all the work that they've been doing over the last 12 weeks. So today I have Tracy Jackson, who is the founder of WIP International Services. And I'm actually going to let Tracy introduce herself, and then we'll get into the conversation. Take it away, Tracy.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Charisse. I'm Tracy Jackson. I'm the CEO and founder of WIP International Services, and we solve the problem of global thirst and global thirst with our atmospheric water generators and our humanitarian commercial solutions. So I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I native Pennsylvanian, but moved to Texas quite a few years ago and was in the oil and gas services sector for over 31 and a half years. I retired officially in August of 2021, but had founded my company in the towards the beginning months of the pandemic. So around June 2020 was when I formed the LLC and had followed along a path that I had set in motion about 7 years before that, with atmospheric water generators being the backbone of my company's focus.
Absolutely. And I have a feeling we have a lot of clean energy tech founders and industry members. And so when they hear water generation, they may think, okay, I know exactly what you're talking about. But can you tell us what exactly that is? And then what's the product that that you've developed?
Sure. So the atmospheric water generators, I wish I could say it was my baby and my technology, my IP. It isn't, but it is a miraculous technology that we use as the focus to generate water. And how it works is that the atmospheric water generators acts very much like your air conditioning system. And so it extracts the humidity from the air, but in our case, we capture it. We apply a patented ozone process, which purifies the water instantly. And then we apply for potable water minerals to make it pH balanced and delicious tasting. So in an average relative humidity of 40% or higher, it operates efficiently and optimally, the smallest units giving us 7 to 12 gallons of water a day. And they literally look like a water cooler without a bottle on top. So 7 gallons of storage. So a family of 6 could easily have enough water to drink, pure water from that. All you do is plug it into your electrical socket. And then on an industrial size, we have 2 larger models, one that makes 100 gallons of water a day with 50 gallons of storage, and then another that is more of a modular unit that you can scale up to make as much water as you need, but starts out at 200 gallons of water a day with 30 gallons of storage.
Every time you talk about it, I'm just thinking, so pretty much you're saying you're taking the humidity or the water vapor in the air and turning it into water that's drinkable, usable for cooking, just the normal water that we would be getting out of the faucet, we'd be getting from this machine. And it's coming from the air. So it almost is magical. It's just kind of showing up. And what you're saying is it can be in your home and then also used in industrial spaces, correct?
That is true. And then the most important part of it is the humanitarian aspect of it. So I'll give you an example of how it's used in that capacity. There's a village in Malawi, Africa, where we sent our first small unit, a T12, about a year ago. And so Malawi has an average relative humidity that exceeds 70 to 80% year round, except for 2 months of the year where it's down as low as 20%. But in those months, that machine can produce just an unlimited amount of water, where they're in a place where where women and young girls have to walk a few miles to get water from sometimes unreliable water sources, contamination. Sometimes the water's just not there, and then they have to go for miles and miles. So, in this particular city or this particular village, which is run by Child Legacy International, they have a fully run solar operated hospital there, so it's easy for them just to plug into the solar facilities there, which you can use to run these machines. You can
Mhm.
also use wind power or any other renewable energy source you would be able to use to run these atmospheric water generators, and literally have an unlimited source of water, drinking water. It can also produce distilled water. So if you have a function for which you want to use for like cleaning hospital equipment, or bottles in a food beverage, a drinking beverage facility, and you want to use just pure distilled water for those purposes, any purpose that you can think of where you require an abundance of clean water, these machines will generate it for you.
Being that we're in Houston, one of the Gulf states, and we deal with hurricane season and all that, the idea of when there's a boil water notice, it's does that what you're saying is just making it so that there's unlimited supply of, well, not I'm gonna say unlimited supply, consistent supply of water, even when municipal sources are not available. And then also with your humanitarian piece, it's allowing it's freeing up people to be able to focus on developing themselves, developing careers, developing all the other things that they would be doing, they would be doing if they weren't having to go and search for something that's a basic need, right?
That's a really great point, Charisse. When we think about, and even if it's, I don't want to leave out the little boys over there who might be doing it too in
Right.
Africa, going for water. But when you have to have your focus on, your water, what you drinking water every day, or what am I going to eat today, the things that we take for granted here, it takes away all of the opportunities to develop careers and get an education when you're in survival mode, 24/7. So this would be, and is in some cases where it's been adopted, a life-changing resource to have.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the most exciting things, because you do those that in concert with the more, I guess, commercial focused pieces of your company. And I'm wondering, where did this come from for you? Was this something that was a part of your career path? Was it something that came out of the blue? Where did this idea for this company come from?
Well, I love this story. I had a very dear friend named Alexander Polak, who was a Holocaust survivor, and he worked for the company that I was previously employed by, which is Petrolog out of Nigeria. They were an oil and gas services company with a Houston extension called George Stevens Resources, and I was the general manager of administration for George Stevens Resources. And as a part of the Petrolog team, Mr. Polak and I had gone to places around the world, Venezuela, Costa Rica. I'd been over to Nigeria, and we'd seen, different issues for water related issues. But in this instance, I was on my vacation period, and he called me and asked me if I would go with him to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to investigate a business opportunity with him. He always liked to bounce his ideas off of other people, and I was one of those people. And he was 80 years old at that point, and he's no longer with us, but he was a great friend and became a second father to me. So on this particular trip, we went to Baton Rouge to go to a place where they were growing algae for commercial purposes. So we went to this warehouse, and when the door was open, it was a swampy day in Baton Rouge, a lot more humid than it was normally that I felt in Houston, but it was very, very humid there. We walked into the warehouse, and before we even got to the cylinders of the algae that were growing, there was a big machine making a noise. And I was like, oh, what's that? It's shiny and new. I like technology, and I'd never seen that type of machine before. And so the host gave me an empty cup and told me to set it on the machine. And he pushed a button and water came out of the machine. So he asked me to drink it. And I said, I'm not going to drink it. What do you mean drink it? What is that? What is that?
You do it. You
So,
drink it first.
right, right. So he said, no, trust me, drink it. So I tasted the water and I like, oh, this is great tasting water. So he later on in the day explained to me that the atmospheric water generator was producing 80 to 100 gallons of water a day, just out of humidity in the air, and all it was plugged into a wall. And I was more fascinated with that technology than I was even with the algae that was growing. But they required pure water to grow the algae, and they generated their own water for that purpose. So from that point forward, which is a little over 8 years ago, I've thought about atmospheric water generators pretty much every single day since then, and had been to Nigeria, had been to villages where they had, not villages, a village where they had a young man who was drawing water out of a well. And the line of villagers was almost a quarter mile long going back, waiting to pay a few naira for the water he was drawing out for them. And that just was the immediate image that came to my mind when I had that taste of water. It immediately went to Africa and how beneficial it would be there.
Absolutely. So really the humanitarian piece came first
Yes,
when it
yes,
came to your ideas of how you wanted to move forward.
that's
And
correct.
a lot of the founders that we work with have are software developers, and their platform and their product is more web based or app based or something like that. And so, being that it's a you actually have a piece of equipment that you had to develop. What was that process like as you had to actually create um, prototypes and that build out, because most founders are SaaS and it's very
Yeah.
focused on the software development. So I want to hear a little bit about that, because it's just we don't get to have those kinds of founders on the cohorts.
Well, again, I'd like to just really be clear that it's not my
Right,
technology, but
exactly.
what we do is we do build solutions, the solutions to utilize the water generation technology. So if you imagine the T200, which is the largest machine that can produce up to 200 gallons of water per day, looks like a little bit like an oversized air conditioning unit.
Mhm.
So we, for example, have a customer in Mexico who is building a smart apartment building, as he calls it. So it'll have LED lighting, it'll have all the latest bells and whistles, it'll be green and all of the materials, building materials that they use to build. And so they wanted a renewable, sustainable source of water. So after I had presented at a resort that they had a conference at, I talked to them there and told him about the technology. He got very excited and was like, well, can we use this for our apartment building? So their apartment building will have 58 units, and our solution we're proposing is to put two of the largest generators on top of the roof and plumb it in with the fresh new plumbing. And just imagine being in Mexico, living in a building where you can just turn on the tap and drink the water and not have a concern about whether it's going to be tasting good or being detrimental to your health.
Gosh, in modern society, you would not think that that would be so revolutionary, but I mean, it really is, and that's a dependable source at all times, and it's just a matter of the machine working. And you mentioned that the humidity was at, what was the humidity level that the machine works at best?
Yeah, optimally 40% or above. So the
But you have
same.
a solution if that's not the case, correct?
Oh, we do. But I'll just
Yes.
tell you, like that same machine, the 200 gallon per day machine, if it's 40% humidity, you get 200 gallons in 24 hours. But we've tested that same machine at 90% humidity, and it created 268 gallons in the same 24-hour period. And I'd like to harken back to one other thing you said earlier, which is about the boil water notices that are becoming all too common for us here in the Houston area. And, think about if you were a restaurateur and you want to make your favorite pasta dish. What makes food taste good? The quality of water. If you
Mhm.
are a like me, I'm a coffee connoisseur. I love coffees. What makes the best cup of coffee? Is the bean or is it the water? Well, it's a combination of both, but the better the water, the better tasting cup of coffee you have. So if you are a small business owner who's affected by these boil water notices, it would be a boon for your business to not have to shut your business down for 2 or 3 days or a week or whatever that period of time of the notice is. You could know that you could just plug in your machine and have that water flowing pure, good tasting, and keep your customers coming in without any kind of breaks for that reason.
It's it's just amazing. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about your experience in the accelerator thus far.
Sure.
How did you find DivInc? How did you get connected with us in the first place?
I love that story too. I mean, I
Oh,
feel like the whole Ion district is just a haven of connection opportunity. So in
mhm,
this case, WIP had been accepted as a member of Greentown Labs in December of last year, so December 2022. And there's a young man there named Bijan Sabaji, who is one of their membership. I think he helps to bring members into the community of Greentown Labs. And so we had already joined, and it must have been maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I'd become a member, where he said, "Oh, there's this cohort that DivInc is throwing. I think you should apply for it." And I was like, "What's a cohort?" And so he explained to me. I didn't even know what an accelerator program was at that point, because coming from the oil and gas sector, I
yeah.
found that there's just a whole new language and lingo that I hadn't been exposed to. So after he explained to me and he told me that he knew Amanda Moya, they had gone to college together, and that she was the director of the program, that I should just, try it and see what happened. And it was a very kind of cavalier type, suggestion. And I said, okay, well, no, I'll try it. And so I went ahead and applied, and lo and behold, I was accepted. And I remember one of the things that I put on my application for applying was, I don't know what I don't know. I
Mhm.
wanted to participate so that I could be the best possible business owner that I could be in this sector. And I knew that I needed additional tools. And that's what I'm getting out of the experience, is a lot of it very, very beneficial tools to run my business.
Absolutely, and I'm glad to hear that. Have there been any really big aha moments that you've had related to the how you've been approaching your business? Anything that's been like, that's a key to a problem, or an issue that we've been butting up against, or anything like that that you've experienced throughout the workshops and things like that?
I think it's more for me, it's the foundational uh, pieces of information that I'm learning that will prevent me from really burning my fingers, because I'm still kind of early in the journey. So the approach to hiring people, the approach to, if I do want to raise funds, what are the do's or don'ts, and how can I, cut out a few steps that maybe I would have been, going up a mountain when it should just be a little molehill. Those
Yeah,
are the kind of aha moments that I have, that I'm like, okay, I'm glad I started the journey here with this resource of the DivInc cohort, to enable me to really be more considered and focused about how I approach different aspects of my business.
absolutely, absolutely. Any really great experiences that are connected to working with your fellow cohort members? Because we're very intentional about the groups, the cohorts that we put together, and hoping that you all are able to not just get support from us, but get support from each other. So, any experiences like that?
Yes, I enjoy working with all our cohort members, and there's such a great range of talent there, and such a vast range of knowledge and expertise. And when I think about what Patricia Vega does with her Enterwise company, I am like astounded and happy that, as another woman founder, that she has just such a level of brilliance. And then I think about Benny and Chinolo and what they're doing in the Congo with their product. And it's just, I think, at at the heart of all of our offerings that everyone has this level of humanitarianism first, and not humanitarian in a sense of of charity, but in a
Right.
sense of what can we do to make the world a better place for everyone else and for our children and grandchildren going forward. So the opportunities that we have to collaborate, I find that there's a freedom of sharing of contacts. I'm often introducing people to people. The cohort members to people that I know at Greentown Labs, or even people external to Greentown Labs, to try to give them a leg up in the differences that they're trying to make in the world.
Absolutely. Yes. The team at Greentown Labs, we work directly with them. And in some cases, they also have an accelerator. In some cases, we're a feeder for them, and excited to hear that they played a part in you finding us, as
Yes.
well as you being able to access the resources there to build out the company. Um, as you have been talking, you've mentioned a couple of times that building out your team has been a big part of what you've been doing in the last 12 weeks, if not this year. And I've gotten a chance to watch you work with one particular member of your team, and Nation, and I think it's been wonderful to see. um we always see that the co-founder pairs work great together. They're all on the same wavelength and all that, but I think founders are also thinking about, now, how do I build and bring on team members that are not co-founder level? They're strategic partners, or they're members of the C-suite and director level. How do I do that in a way that will accentuate the company and also push us forward in a way that's still genuine to what the company was standing for in the first place? And I think you've done a really great job doing that. And I'd like you to talk about how you met Nation and how y'all kind of built out y'all's the work that you're doing together, because I think y'all do it so great, and I just
Oh,
in awe of y'all's back and forth and all that. So
well, thank you. Sometimes we call each other tag team partners, but Nation Guyton is someone who was a person that I met at my very first Cup of Joey. And for people who don't know what Cup of Joey is, the Ion Building in downtown Houston has a every Friday from 8:30 to 10:30 an opportunity to network that I and most of us refer to as being such an organic experience. We go there, we're talking about the why of our business, and on the first occasion that I went, I was standing at a table, and two young men, I'll call them, stood on either side of me, and we were all three. It was our first time there, and so person after person after person kept coming up to our table talking to us. What is your why are you in business? And we were explaining and expressing ourselves, and we are kind of like, what are we, fresh blood or something, because people just came up to us. And then one of the earliest people who came up to me was Nation Guyton. And so Nation has his own company, and he's an MLB coach, as he calls his company, best MLB coach, or best MLB CEO coach business. And so what he does is he coaches CEOs to see different ways that they can expand their businesses, and maybe how to actualize their potentials in ways that they didn't realize. And after just a few short minutes of talking to him, I had a whole different perspective on what I could do. And well, you should do this, you should try this, or did you think about this? And that we talked literally probably for 45 minutes to an hour on our very first conversation, and have gone only a few days out of the several months that even we've known each other, almost the year that we've known each other, without talking at all. We talk nearly every day. And I've gotten the benefit of having his wisdom, because he's a strategic alliance associate of mine. He helps to bring in the humanitarian commercial solutions, because he helps to design those solutions. And then after that, we run them past an engineer to check for viability, and then we present them to our clients.
y'all are a well-oiled machine. I can say that from personal experience, just watching y'all work together, and then also the other members of your team. You mentioned your engineer and everyone. Y'all just really work well together, and I just think, yeah, you've done a great job in that vein. So, how was your team prepping for demo day? I mentioned a second or earlier in the episode that Demo Day is coming up on June 29th. And it's your chance to really show everyone the thing that show everyone the things that you've been working on for the last 12 weeks. And how are you prepping? How are you getting ready for it?
Well, it's getting real for me. So last weekend was the weekend that I really devoted time to beginning to memorize my pitch and, uh, reorder some of the thoughts and look at the images that we have. Nation's done all the graphic work and everything that we have so far. So we're also working with, I know I'm going to say this wrong, a sketch deck to
That's
do.
right.
Sketch deck, yeah, they're also going to bring some new
One of our
graphics to
partners.
us. But
Mhm.
I in my mind, so at the heart of me, I'm a storyteller. I had a book published when I was a young girl. I've written several manuscripts. And even last night, I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, okay, you need to have a little bit more narrative style to what you say and how you convey your story of this business. So I believe there's a little bit more polishing that I need to do, but with Amanda's help, Nico's help, your help. I mean, I look for all the feedback I can get because I want the story to shine the way I feel it in my heart and the way I know that it'll be able to touch a lot of people out there.
We're excited. I'm so excited for everybody to hear more about what you're doing, and for everyone to join us for Demo Day. As we're closing out, is there what's the best way that our community can connect with you, and anything you want to share with us as we're going into Demo Day time?
Sure. Well, I can tell a little bit of great news that's occurred for our company in the last couple of weeks. We have signed major LOIs. We've signed a major term sheet with a company out of Mexico. And so even today, we had a conference call with them in Mexico. Things are building to a critical mass and way beyond our expectations for an opportunity to put atmospheric water generators in places in Mexico that will have a humanitarian and a commercial impact. So there are indigenous people in the Chiapas area of Mexico that have no power. And so we're proposing solutions for them to have their universities be water hubs for the communities to be able to get their water. So that's a little bit of a glimpse into what we're working on right now. And we've had another LOI come in from Mexico last night. We had an NDA come in from Nigeria. So we've got 3 companies in Mexico, 3 companies in Nigeria, a relationship with a company developing in Kenya. And we have a lot of people who have our back on this as far as making great introductions and so forth. And so we're just looking forward to sharing the story, touching on those highlights, and hopefully bringing illumination to the realization that there is an easy response out there. I mean, I'm sorry, an easy solution out there for the places that require water the most. All you need is some humidity. All you need is to spend a little bit of money. And one thing I did not say, these machines last 12 to 15 years. So when people are concerned about their ROI and everything, you can make your money back quickly. So.
Oh, it's gonna if you join us on June 29th at the Ion or watch streaming, you'll be able to hear more about what Tracy's up to, and she might be able to give us a little bit more details about the partnerships that she's building right now. Well, thank you, Tracy, so much for joining us today. I'm so excited about the work that you've been doing, and can't wait for a Demo Day and seeing all this come to fruition. Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. And until next time, have a great day.
Thanks.